All right, everyone, get ready for a deep dive that's going to take us far beyond our usual stomping grounds. We're heading to Kenya today.
Ooh, sounds intriguing.
It is. We're diving into a topic that's way more relevant than you might think at first. It's all about the consequences of what you say and do on social media.
Social media. Always a hot topic.
For real. And what we found looking into Kenya's Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, well, let's just say it's been a real eye-opener.
I bet. We often forget that what we do online can have real-world implications.
Exactly. And that's what's so fascinating about this deep dive. We're using this video we found that breaks down the act, and it's packed with real-life examples and some pretty surprising information.
Well, don't leave us in suspense. What kind of surprises are we talking about?
Okay, so get this. In Kenya, using social media to abuse someone is a straight-up crime.
Whoa, really? So, just saying mean things online can get you in trouble with the law?
Yep, it's all right there in the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act.
So it's not just some vague idea. It's a real law with real teeth.
Exactly. And this act, it's not just about punishing people. It's actually designed to protect Kenyans and create a safer online environment.
I like that. So it's about prevention as much as it is about punishment.
Exactly. And they're not messing around. The video gives this example, this guy, Eric, who posts some nasty stuff about his former employer on social media. Probably thought he was just venting, but it lands him in hot water.
So he got in trouble just for posting about his boss online. What happened?
He ended up with a conviction.
Wow. It really makes you think twice about what you put out there.
No kidding. And that brings up a good question. What exactly constitutes cybercrime in Kenya?
Right, because abuse can be kind of a broad term.
Totally. So the act actually covers a lot of ground. We're talking cyber harassment, identity theft, spreading false information, you name it.
Wow, so they've really thought of everything.
Pretty much. Even unauthorized access to data, that's a no-go too.
It's amazing how much our lives are online these days. And
Right.
It sounds like Kenya is staying ahead of the curve in terms of protecting people in this digital space.
Right. And they don't stop there. The act even specifically addresses cyberbullying, hate speech, and stalking. Those are explicitly illegal.
So they're really trying to cover all the bases.
Definitely. And here's what really struck me. They don't just define the crimes, they also dig into the real-world impact of this online abuse.
It's so true. Sometimes we forget that what happens online doesn't just stay online.
Absolutely. It can have ripple effects into every aspect of your life. The video talks about broken families, job losses, and the emotional toll it takes on people. It's serious stuff.
I can only imagine. Online harassment can be so relentless and damaging.
Right. And that's why I think it's so important that they're bringing attention to these real-world consequences.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
not just words on a screen. It's real people's lives being affected.
And, they even go as far as to explain how you report a cybercrime in Kenya. It's all spelled out in Section 40 of the Act.
Oh, interesting. So they don't just say, hey, this is illegal. They actually give you the tools to do something about it.
Exactly. But it's not as simple as just saying, hey, this person was mean to me online. You need to be prepared with specifics.
I can see why. They're trying to weed out frivolous complaints and focus on the real issues.
Right. The Act requires you to have certain information, like the details of how the crime happened, how many people were affected, how much damage was caused, even if there were any delays in reporting.
So they're making sure people are taking it seriously.
Absolutely. It shows they're committed to providing real support for victims of online abuse.
It sounds like they're taking a really proactive approach to this whole issue.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
It is. And it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, the video also offers some practical tips for staying safe online.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They talk about things like thinking before you post and protecting your privacy online. Those are good reminders for all of us.
Totally. I mean, how many times have you hit post without really thinking about it? I know I've done it.
Oh, all the time. It's so easy to just fire off a quick comment without considering the consequences.
And that's what they're trying to address, making people aware of the potential impact of their actions, even seemingly small ones.
I think that's a crucial message in today's digital world. We need to be more conscious of our digital footprint and the lasting impact it can have.
Yeah, it's like a digital tattoo.
Exactly. Once it's out there, it's out there.
And in Kenya, those digital tattoos can have serious real-world consequences.
Which is why this deep dive is so important. It's not just about Kenya. It's about understanding how our actions online can have a ripple effect that extends far beyond the digital realm.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
So let's keep exploring this, shall we? What else did this video uncover about the consequences of online actions in Kenya?
It's wild, right? Like, who knew a comment on Facebook could land you in actual jail?
Seriously, the video goes into some detail about those penalties, and let me tell you, they do not mess around in Kenya.
So spill the tea. What kind of punishments are we talking about?
Well, first off, the fines can be hefty. We're talking millions of shillings.
Yep. They mentioned fines of up to 7 million shillings.
7 million shillings. That's a lot of shillings.
It is. And that's not even the worst of it. Depending on the severity of the crime, you could also be facing some serious jail time.
So we're not talking a slap on the wrist here. This is the real deal.
Definitely not. The video mentions prison sentences that can last for years.
Years. Wow, I guess they're really sending a message that online abuse is not something they're willing to tolerate.
Absolutely. It's not just about targeting the people who actually commit the crimes, though.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, the act also goes after anyone who might be helping them out.
Like accomplices.
Exactly. So even if you're not the one posting the nasty comments or sharing the private information, you could still get in trouble if you're assisting someone who is.
That makes sense. It's about cutting off the problem at its roots.
Right. It shows that they're committed to tackling this from all angles. And it's not just limited to criminal charges either.
Oh, there's more.
Yep. Victims of cybercrimes in Kenya also have the option of pursuing civil cases.
Oh, wow. So on top of criminal charges, the offender could also be facing a lawsuit.
Exactly. And that means they could be ordered to pay damages to the victim.
So it's not just about punishment, it's also about helping the victim recover from the harm that was done.
Right. It's about trying to make things right as much as possible. And they're not just throwing around random punishments either.
Oh.
The video actually outlines the factors that Kenyan courts consider when deciding on the appropriate sentence for someone convicted of a cybercrime.
So it's not just a one-size-fits-all approach.
Nope. They really try to look at the specifics of each case, like, did the person use a computer to make the crime worse? Did they profit from it? How much harm did they cause?
Okay, yeah, those all seem like relevant factors.
Right. And they also look at things like whether there was a breach of trust involved, how many victims were affected, and even how the offender behaved during the court proceedings.
So they're really trying to understand the full picture before making a decision.
They are. And I think that's really important because cybercrime can be so varied, right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like, the impact of sending a threatening email is going to be different than, say, hacking into someone's bank account and stealing all their money.
No kidding. You can't treat all cybercrimes the same way.
Exactly. So I think it's great that Kenya is taking such a nuanced approach.
I'm really impressed by how seriously they're taking this whole issue. It feels like they're really ahead of the curve when it comes to addressing online abuse.
I agree. They've actually created a whole legal framework to deal with it, and they're actually enforcing it.
Which is more than you can say for a lot of other countries.
Sadly, that's true. But hey, that's kind of why we do these deep dives, right?
Totally. To learn from each other and hopefully push for better solutions everywhere.
Exactly. So we've talked a lot about the laws and the punishments, but what about the role of social media platforms in all of this?
Oh, yeah. That's a great point. They're kind of the stage where all of this is playing out, right?
They are, and I think it's a question a lot of people are asking. How much responsibility do they bear for the abuse that happens on their platforms?
Right, because they control the algorithms and the moderation policies.
Exactly. So to what extent are they responsible for creating an environment where this kind of abuse can flourish?
It's a tough question, and there's no easy answer.
Nope. On one hand, you want to protect free speech and make sure people can express themselves online.
Right. You don't want to stifle open dialogue.
Exactly. But on the other hand, you don't want to give a free pass to people who are using these platforms to harass, bully, and intimidate others.
It's a tough balancing act for sure.
It is, and it's something that platforms are grappling with all over the world.
But they can't just sit back and do nothing.
I agree. They need to be proactive about creating safer online environments, and they need to be held accountable when they fail to do so.
So what can we as individuals do, besides just being mindful of our own behavior online?
Well, there's always the option of supporting organizations that are fighting against online abuse.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. Like donating to groups that are working to protect victims.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can also advocate for stronger legal protections for victims.
Well, so basically using our voices to push for change.
Exactly. And educating ourselves and others about the issue.
Right, because knowledge is power.
It is.
Yeah.
The more people understand about online abuse, the better equipped we'll be to combat it.
It feels like we're at a turning point in how we think about online behavior.
I agree. For so long, the online world was seen as this separate space, but Kenya's approach is showing that what we do online can have real-world consequences.
And not just in Kenya.
Right. It's happening everywhere. And I think it's about time we all started taking our digital actions more seriously.
So to bring this back to you, the listener,
Think about your own online behavior.
would you be comfortable with your posts and comments being scrutinized in a court of law?
Would you be prepared to face the consequences of what you say and do online, even if those consequences don't come for years?
That's a powerful question to consider, and I think it speaks to the need for all of us to be more mindful of our digital footprint.
Absolutely. What we share online can have a lasting impact, not just on ourselves, but on others as well.
It's been a real eye-opener, this whole deep dive, and I think it's just the beginning of a much larger conversation.
I agree. We need to keep talking about online abuse, about the role of platforms, and about how we can create a safer and more respectful digital world for everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note,
I'd leave you with this thought. If Kenya, with all its own challenges, can take such a strong stance against online abuse, what's stopping other countries from doing the same?
what's stopping us from demanding more from our lawmakers and from the tech giants who control so much of our online lives?
It's a question worth pondering.
Food for thought, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into social media abuse in Kenya. It's been a fascinating journey, and we hope you learned something valuable along the way.
Stay curious and stay safe online.
It really feels like we're at some kind of turning point here, you know? Like for so long, we've treated online and offline as these totally separate things.
Yeah, I get that.
But what Kenya is doing with this Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, it's really showing that what we do online, it actually matters.
It's like they're bridging that gap.
Exactly. And it's not just about the laws themselves, it's about recognizing that our digital actions, they have real consequences.
And it's not just in Kenya either. It's a global trend.
So true. And what's really impressive is that they're not just going after individuals. They're looking at the role of the platforms. They're providing support for victims.
That's a much broader approach.
Right. They're really trying to tackle this issue from all angles.
It's like a multi-pronged attack on online abuse.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so effective. They're not just paying lip service to the problem. They're actually doing something about it.
And it's working. I mean, at least it seems to be having a positive impact.
It definitely gives me hope. So to kind of bring this back to you, the listener.
Yeah.
Think about this. Would you be comfortable with your posts and comments being shown in court?
Ooh, good question.
Like, would you be okay with a judge and jury scrutinizing everything you've said online?
It really makes you think.
Right, because that's the reality in Kenya. What you do online can have real legal consequences.
It's a good reminder for all of us to be more mindful of our digital footprint.
Absolutely. And to think about the potential impact of our words, even if those consequences don't show up for years.
Sometimes it feels like the internet has no memory, but that's just not true.
This whole deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me, and I hope it's been thought-provoking for you too, because this is a conversation that needs to continue.
Definitely. We need to keep talking about online abuse, about the role of these platforms, and about what we can do to create a safer, more respectful online world.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note,
I'd like to leave you with this thought. If Kenya can do it, why not everyone else?
right. If a country with limited resources and its own unique set of challenges can take such a strong stance against online abuse, what's stopping the rest of the world?
What's stopping us from demanding more from our governments, from these tech giants who have so much power?
It's a question worth asking.
It really is.
Food for thought, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into social media abuse in Kenya. It's been a wild ride, and we hope you learned something valuable along the way.
Until next time, stay curious and stay safe out there, both online and offline.
Gee, yeah.